Hi everyone, this is Maqqi. Telling you about my interest, or one of one of my many interests, um, for Interest Ireland for uh, Neuro Ireland 2022. Um, my interest, I could say history, or maybe history and archaeology, or sociology and psychology, or sociology and history, or some combination of all of these and maybe other things. But really, it's just human beings, um, in every sense. Um, Sometimes you hear these stories about um, an immortal vampire who's world weary and struggling with the fact that they're immortal and they can't have an end to the tedium of unending life. And I find that really, really sad as an idea. Not because, oh, boo hoo, the poor vampire, but more because really there's just so much out there to know, so many things to discover. The idea that somebody could become bored simply because, oh, I've gone through all of the pleasures that life can bring, and now I'm bored. It just doesn't make sense. It means you had no curiosity, and uh, it just seems like an implausible idea. And that seems sad to me, because humans are an endlessly fascinating species. Um, and it's not just because of the stories of individuals, or of nations, or of cultures and their rise and fall and their fate and all the rest of it. But the endless weaving of lies and imagined truths and fantasies that the species have woven, um, their manipulation of each other and of their own logic, their ego, their hopes and striving. And behind all of that, the story of how this ape species, this mixture of different ape species, exploring around the world, um, came into this one thing we call humans, and just were out striving for safety and security, for food and warmth, and for companionship, and ended up creating borders and laws and cultures and traditions and gods and heroes, religions, demons, and enemies out of each other and out of themselves. Um, and building stories then to justify that and to rationalize all of this bizarre constructed fantasy of human existence, human culture, placing so much importance on strange things like what kind of fabrics they wrap around themselves, which parts of their bodies they cover or don't cover, um, the shapes they make out of their head hair, how many pieces of colored shiny stones or colored pieces of metal that they possess during their short life, and how important that must be. Um, but and also how wasteful they can be, having started out just looking for safety and security and warmth and companionship. They have ended up turning into a species which is hell bent on celebrating wastefulness, and on being seen to waste, being kind of celebrating the act of waste, unnecessary waste, and unnecessary hoarding of things that other people need. Just because if I have even more stuff just lying around in vaults or wherever, it makes me somehow a better human. It seems like an odd way to kind of understand your species and its purpose. And then congratulating themselves and congratulating each other for lying, for lying about all of this, for hurting each other. On top of that, for getting away with it, for doing those things and then being able to get away with it as if that's some achievement. Um, um, Maybe worst of all, um, constructing their whole model of self worth, not just on how capable they've been at harming each other, harming those that they could help, but on harming the actual planet and the environment that they and all of this human species relies on, just for survival, and fighting each other over it. Seems ridiculous in some ways. But also, on top of that, despite that, with equal lack of rationality in some ways, this human ability, which runs parallel to that, to strive against all of that, to strive against it, even when there's no sense of hope, and building communities and joy and love and caring and supporting each other, and enduring suffering for no other reason than because if you do, that maybe it will end up helping some other human, maybe even some other human that you don't even know or will never see, who may never even know you've done it. There's no logic to any of this, the good bits or the bad bits, any of it. It's an extraordinary thing. And it could be a desperately ugly and intolerable story. It could be desperately an ugly and intolerable existence to live through. But it isn't. It's endlessly, extraordinarily fascinating. And if I was an immortal vampire, and I may be, I think I would use every moment of that immortality endlessly and never reach the end of exploring this bizarre species and their antics. So yeah, if you want to know my interest, that's it. Humans and their strangeness.